Welcome back. So, last time we talked about your backgrounds and your experience working in like Magnum P.I. and a bunch of other projects like your stage, theater work and whatnot. So, I guess what a lot of folks are curious about it's like when they work in the industry, they're curious about like, oh, how do I what's a good agent? How do I see like representation or like I don't know, just landing a good getting auditions at work that are coming in. Like I know in LA it can get especially competitive. So I guess with for your case, I know that you had like you're repped with an agent and you're repped with, assistants that to help get to where you are today. So I guess I'm curious about what your process was, and I know you mentioned it earlier, but more like getting into the nitty gritty of booking an agent and landing like auditions and gigs, and how to stand out from the thousand or so people that have auditioned for this one role. So getting an agent and how to stand out from, you know, the other actors or the people in the biz. Like, what makes you unique and stand out? Stuff like that.
Yeah, those are big questions. We could talk all day about that. Well,
Totally.
talking about those are great questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about specifically representation, there are two ways that you can get representation. One, you perform in a showcase or an agent sees you in a show or a theater or film, whatever. An agent sees you and they like you and they reach out and you chat and you decide it'll be a good fit and they'll represent you. The second way to find an agent is to perform in a showcase or a show or film or theater or extrovert your talent and have someone see you and get a referral to that agent. Get a friend of the agent or manager or a director or producer or a casting director or whoever it may be, or a referral from if an actor friend of yours has an agent and you have a good relationship and they think possibly you'd be a good fit with their agent, they can refer you. But it is challenging. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to uh, impress the agent because I think what a lot of people don't acknowledge about agents is that when you start out, I mean, well, agents are working for you for free. They're working for you for free to submit you, and they only make money when you make money. So when an agent brings you on, they have to think you're good enough and prepared enough and have studied enough so that it's possible that they think you might book something or they think that you're capable of booking something. So you have to be in a really good place and really prepared to to get an agent. Um, because yeah, it's really important to know that they are working for you for free and they only make 10%. When you book a co-star role, the co-star rate is $1,000. So your agent will only get 10% of that $1,000. So that's $100. That's all your agent is making. So they need to, and it's impressive just to book one or two co-stars a year when you're first starting out, right? That's a big deal. And so, but for your agent, that's only, maybe $200 a year if you're not booking anything else. So your agent really has to believe in you and they really have to see potential. And there's definitely no right or wrong, but I do think that being as prepared as you can and studying the craft, being in a scene study class. I would suggest scene study classes in person. Online classes are great, especially for connecting with agents and casting directors. But when you're actually wanting to work on your craft, it's best to be uh, in person, working with props, working with a real body, a real person in front of you, and working off of their energy. There's only so much Zoom acting can give you, right? It's a lot more. I think Zoom acting is a lot more challenging than in-person acting. Um, So that's my thoughts on getting an agent. I mean, I've gotten very lucky and I'm so grateful for my representation now. But I've also been pursuing this for about, I mean, I would say since 2019. So 2019 was when I really started, hitting the ground running. So I've had some decent time to work with people and meet people and get better. Um, Time is definitely your friend in this industry. The more time you have, the more opportunity you have to practice and meet people. Um, and also, you may have already heard agents talk about this, but when you when you work with an agent, it's definitely a relationship. So a relationship in the sense of you have to sort of get along with each other or click with each other to work together. It's kind of like the same, if you date someone, you need to go on a couple dates with them first to see if you like them and see if you can work well together. It's kind of similar to agents too. And sometimes agents will take you on without having you sign a contract, and they'll just say, okay, we're just going to work together for a couple months and see how it goes, and they'll submit you for projects and they'll see how responsible you are. Are you meeting the deadline for all your auditions? Uh are you dedicated to this? Because they want to feel you out too, to see if you're on the same page. And the last thing I'll say about agents is to definitely try to extrovert your talent as much as possible, which is actually something that I'm working on as well, because I don't really have a large social media following. I don't post a lot on my social media, but I've thought about it a lot, and it can't hurt you to have an online presence. The more people who are seeing you, the more people who are um uh interacting with you, the better. And it's not just social media, it's making your own short films and working on projects with your friends, and making your own work and posting it on YouTube or Vimeo or whatever it is. I mean, I congratulate you, Robert, for doing what you're doing, because it's a lot of time and effort that you put into these things. And so, and this is a way of extroverting
You
your
have
talent. I
no
know, I know it's
idea.
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but so yeah, when you extrovert your talent, there's just more possibility for people to see you and for people to like you and like what you do. And um yeah. Yeah. But it's tough. I remember when I just finished school and I didn't have an agent and I didn't have any idea how I was going to get an agent. It's very scary because you're like, because agents are very helpful, but you also want to be in a place where you're ready for that. You want to have your self-tape system down. You want to have your technique. You want to have some type of technique ready to go, so that an agent sees you and says, oh yeah, I can see that person on TV. It's like art. I mean, a co-star rate is $1,000. A guest star rate ranges anywhere from like 8,000 plus. So you have to ask yourself, am I you know am I ready to do work that's worth $1,000 for production, or am I ready to do work that's worth $8,000? And then you look at you look at Leonardo DiCaprio, and they pay him millions of dollars to do what he does. So, are you in a place where you're ready to work side by side with someone like Leonardo DiCaprio, or that's the top of the hill right there is actors like Leo. So yeah, you have to be ready and prepared, and take the time to enhance yourself and your craft.
Yeah. So, what are some of the workshops or classes that you would like to recommend to people? Any recommendations?
Yeah. So acting voice studios is great for networking. If you're in a
Yeah.
place where you're ready to meet casting directors, meet agents, um, do showcases, acting voice studios is the place. And there's a couple other good studios as well that are online like that. One on one is another option. but I'm obviously biased towards acting and voice studios. It's a great, the owners are really lovely. They're actors themselves, actors and singers. And it's a good company. It's very good to its students and its workers. So acting and voice studios for sure, if you're ready to network. It depends on what region you're in. I can definitely give you recommendations for LA, but to be honest, if you live outside of LA, I would suggest Googling studios in your area. And then if you find an acting coach in your area, let's say you're in Midwest or something, if you find an acting coach in your area, then Google that acting coach and see what they've done. You know, a lot of I don't really, I like to go to the acting coaches that have done a lot of work and have coached well-known actors, because to me that says, okay, they have a resume, they have experience, there's a level of trust, you know. But there are some acting coaches out there who haven't done as much work, and they will sort of market themselves as if they have, and then I don't really like that. I want to go to like the real deal, you know what I mean? So make sure you do your research, and I'll give the LA recommendations in just a second, but this is just for the people outside of LA. Do your research on scene studies around you. Like I said earlier, I would highly suggest scene study in person, mainly because you need to know how to deal with props and things in your scene while you're working, while you're saying your lines out loud. Because when we work on self-tape too much, we're so used to sort of doing things under the camera and not using the actual props, that once we go to set, for anyone who has experience, you know, being on set or being on stage, you know, you can learn your lines super well, but then the moment you go on stage and the director gives you something to work on, maybe you're making a sandwich or maybe you're cleaning something, all of a sudden this work that you have to do with your hand and your body, it trips you up when you try to work with your line. So you have to be really connected to the voice and the body, and be able to work in that environment and use your body as a tool. So scene study in person for sure. My LA recommendations, I have a couple. Howard Fine is the best in the world to me. You can look him up. He's a celebrity coach. He coached Austin Butler in Elvis. Austin Butler has worked with him for a long time. He coached Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman audition. He's great. And what I love most about him is that he has very affordable classes, and he still teaches to anybody who wants to come to his class. He does in-person acting technique. He also does audition boot camp, which is online. Or it's not called audition boot camp. I called it that for some reason, but he does audition classes online, and those are great too because they're all self-tape classes. Basically, he assigns you scenes, you tape the self-tape, you send it in, and then you watch it over in class, and he redirects you and he works on it with you. I just have so much respect for him. He was good friends with Uta Hagen, who is a well-known actress and acting coach. So he's just totally the real deal. So if you're in LA, 100% recommend the Howard Fine Studio. That's my number one recommendation. There are a couple other good ones. The BGB Studio is really cool. That is spearheaded by Risa. Let me get her name just so I don't say it wrong. She's a casting director. Her name is Risa Brayman Garcia. And I believe, I could be wrong, I believe she co-owns the BGB studio. I could be wrong, but I know she has a huge hand in the BGB studio. So yeah, look that up. She's lovely as well. She also has a social media presence, so you can follow her on social media. You can follow the studio, see what classes they have. And the last one I'll recommend is John Rosenfeld Studio. To be honest, I haven't worked with John Rosenfeld, but I do have a handful of friends who have gone to him and only have great things to say about him. So that's three things. And I can email this to you too if you want to write it in the notes or something. But yeah, Howard Fine, BGB Studio and John Rosenfeld Studios for all the people who live in LA. And to be honest, now that we live in this new world, BGB BGB and Howard Fine have online classes. So you can still, if you're in the Midwest, if you're anywhere, you can do those online classes with them too. So that's amazing that we're in that place where, actors outside of LA have access to the best acting coaches in America. And what else? I was gonna say, what else was I gonna say? Um, There's a handful of self-tape studios that are helpful as well. Basically you pay them to go into their studio and record you and read with you. It does cost money, so it's not right for everyone, but it is a good resource if you have a big audition and you want your self-tape to look really good and have the lighting perfect and the backdrop and have a good reader, those are helpful too. But those are my main recommendations. And of course, I'm just a big believer in doing your own research as well and seeing seeing which acting coach has done what and sort of gravitating towards the person who has the most experience. So that's mostly what I do is just look for the people who have the most experience and then follow them and listen to them and see what they have to say because I think having the most experience and the resume to back it up says a lot to me.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, at least we're getting a lot of good resources.
Yeah. Oh, I also wanted to mention, sorry, uh, Audrey Moore as well. So the Audrey Helps Actors podcast, which I mentioned earlier, she has a website with resources as well, which is so helpful. She talks about acting classes. She talks about self-tape setup. She is very helpful. So if you want another opinion on acting classes in LA, she's a good person to look into too. So her website is called audreyhelpsactors.com.
Okay. So, just out of curiosity, what is so what are you currently like watching or like reading or just anything that comes to mind, like media that you're kind of like, consuming either
Um,
for acting or just for enjoyment? What's something that you've been getting into as of late that you want to share with us?
oh yes.
Recommendations.
My boyfriend and I have been binging The Last of Us on HBO.
Man,
And have you seen it?
it looks so beautiful. I have not watched it. No
Okay.
spoilers. Please don't
It
spoil it.
I love zombie shows. The Walking Dead is one of my favorite shows. I love it. I love apocalypse shows. The Last of Us is fantastic. Um, I'm a big fan of The Handmaid's Tale. Love The Handmaid's Tale. Um, oh, The White Lotus, of course. I'm kind of mainstream with the shows that I watch. I love HBO, so I watch a lot of I love what HBO has to offer. But yeah, The Last of Us and The White Lotus to me are my two tops right now. Because they're just I didn't I The White Lotus, of course, is a new concept by Mike White, and I think Mike White is just incredible. He wrote and directed it. Have you seen The White Lotus?
I have not. I've heard nothing but great things about it.
Yeah, he's just a genius with dialogue, circumstance, story, and it keeps you on your toes. And it's new. It's very exciting to get a new story that wasn't a book or wasn't anything. So I love The White Lotus and The Last of Us. I didn't even know the game existed, so I didn't know anything about it. But Pedro Pascal is just incredible. I mean, riveting. So I have one where there's the fourth episode just came out, so I'm probably gonna watch the fourth episode after this. um,
Sounds like
but
fun.
yeah, those are the shows that I'm watching. What I love reading as well, but I my taste buds are all over the place. I I have been reading plays recently because to be honest, I haven't read a lot of plays overall. And Howard Fine is a big, all he says in his classes is just to read, 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 read plays, read books, read screenplays. He just really believes that to be an actor, you need to understand story and read a lot and inhale stories so that you have a good understanding of them. And so because of him, I've been reading more plays. So I have a link. I just read plays online or I bring them to the library. Right now, I'm reading a play called Fat Pig by Neil LaBute. It was written in 2004. But plays are quite nice to read because they don't take too long. They're quite short to read, so you get through them pretty quick. Um, yeah, those are a couple things that I've been ingesting.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just also saying earlier that like LA has some very like another reason to move to LA is because of its, gorgeous weather, even though it does get pretty humid,
Mhm.
especially during the summertime. But spring and fall are just always very nice. I mean,
Yeah.
winter isn't too far behind. I mean, I used to love summer, but like after moving to like, I think if you're closer to the beaches, I think it has that nice little sea breeze to it. But if you're like in the Orange County, Riverside, San Bernardino areas, um, like in the mountains and stuff, or no, valleys, then yeah, it can get pretty hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that's one other thing that I wanted to point out. Like LA, the weather is nice and all, just be prepared for the traffic and the
Oh,
wrecks.
definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that's just want to point that out before I forget. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so yeah, let's talk about fitness, yoga,
Okay.
and all that good stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
because that is something else that I'm also really passionate about. I do believe that fitness is good to keep your mind and body just healthy, whether you're doing like especially if you're having like a long sustainable career and you're doing if you're going to get into this in the long run because like having a healthy mindset and positive mindset, of course, like you mentioned therapy earlier, and keeping yourself physically in shape can also be it's a great way to alleviate to eliminate stress and anxiety or whatever it is that you might be feeling, like low self-esteem. So yeah, share about your little journey
Yeah.
into fitness,
Yes.
if you may.
So I'm a yoga teacher and I'm so proud that I'm a yoga teacher. I love yoga. I actually, my mom is a big yogi. So I grew up very familiar with it and stretching occasionally. But I actually got into yoga more passionately when I was sick, when I was going through chemo, because yoga was basically the only form of exercise that my body could handle. So it felt so, I was quite cooped up a lot of the time. And so um, having being able to roll out the yoga mat and just do some gentle stretches really just saved my life for me. I mean, now I crave the feeling of stretching, opening up the body and finding space. Um, but that's where it started initially. So that was in 2017. That's where my passion started for yoga. And I love yoga because I grew up along with acting growing up. I was also on swim team. I did water polo. I paddled over the summers. I paddled in an outrigger canoe. So a lot of water sports. And I love sports. And so, but the older I got, sort of intense like hit workouts got a little harder on my body. And so what I love about yoga is that you can be gentle with it, but you can also there's a nicer balance. You can still challenge your body, you still tone the muscles, finding strength, but at the same time, it's not as intense as say Barry's boot camp or something like that. Even though I love Barry's boot camp is cool too, but um, it's just really it's just great balance for the body. So anyways, I became a yoga teacher earlier in spring of 2021, and I teach at Hot 8 Yoga here in California. So if you're in LA, you can come take a class with me at Hot 8. Um,
I see
but
you.
yeah, what?
Oh, it's like, yep, I see you.
Yeah,
Ugh.
come take a class. I think movement is very important. I mean, we can talk about yoga itself, but then I can also talk about yoga and movement for actors.
Yeah,
Um, I think movement and connection to the body is high priority for actors. I mean, in conservatory, you have acting class, voice class, and movement class. So all acting conservatories include movement class because you have to have a connection with your body. You have to have an understanding of what your body's doing, what your physical behavior is. And a way to do that is through movement, exercise, yoga, a technique called Alexander technique, which is taught at a lot of different, it's taught at Juilliard, a lot of different conservatories. Um, and it's yeah, I think the main purpose is to gain control over the body, gain connection. You look at actors who have done roles where their body completely transforms. You know, I'm thinking of Daniel Day-Lewis in Lincoln. You know, his the way he held his body in that movie was I had never seen him hold his body like that before. He also did My Left Foot as well. So he's another actor who's just incredibly transforms amazingly. Meryl Streep as well, you know, the way she holds her body in Sophie's Choice is very different from the way she holds her body in Mamma Mia. So you have to have a control over your body and your voice so you're aware of how you're coming off to the camera. So anyways, I just said all that just because I believe that yoga is one way to connect with your body. You know, there's a lot of different techniques you can use. Yoga is one way. I get up in the morning and I stretch every day because it just sets me off on a better day. Um, and yeah, and I also, because of my health history, I really prioritize my health. And I mean, I think everyone should. Um, but you know, you only have one body, so you want to take really good care of it. And yeah, yeah. And then yoga in general, for anyone, or sorry, did I answer that? Sorry.
yeah. You
Yeah.
can continue.
Okay.
Go on.
Okay. I guess speaking on yoga and fitness outside of acting, yeah, there's in LA, there's a lot of teacher trainings that you can be a part of. It really just depends on what aligns with you. You could also be a physical, like a physical trainer, fitness trainer. Um, there's a lot of different options, but California is a great place to be for that there, because there's a lot of fitness Pilates studios here, a lot of gyms. It's very popular here for sure.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I know you stretch and do like workout routines, so I'm just wondering, what are actually, if you could demonstrate or show just some, at least breathing or at least some
Oh yeah.
exercises that you do personally? Yeah. What's your process?
Definitely. Yeah. I have one breathing. Well, I have two breathing techniques I can share with you. And I actually this is a great point just to say because I've been thinking about posting more on my social media, posting
Okay.
like different movements for actors that they can take in on their prep. Um, so you're inspiring me a little bit here with these ideas.
Aw.
But I'll give you two breathing techniques. So one is very popular in Bikram yoga. It's a style of yoga. You bring your fingers together, interlace your fingers together, and put your knuckles under your chin. And I'll try to lift up a little bit. You want your elbows to touch like this. So your knuckles are under your chin. You're trying to bring your elbows to touch. You gaze up towards the ceiling As you gaze up, you inhale. So inhale, gaze up. Exhale, turn your gaze down. And as you turn your gaze down, you lift your arms up to come to the side of your face. And when you're doing this, you're gazing down. You're also doing this standing. So when you're standing, your knees are slightly bent, pulling your navel to spine, relaxing the shoulders. Um, but yeah, so you do this, I would say do this maybe 8 to 10 times. And the point is to fill up your lungs so much that as you're gazing up towards the ceiling, you're inhaling, 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 you're completely full of air. And exhale, push all your air out, your arms come up. And you'd be amazed by the effects on the body. You do that 8 to 10 times, and your headspace is you're in a completely different place. You're much clearer, you're much grounded, you're much more in your body. Because I mean, there's a lot of science behind breathing correctly, and I'm not an expert on it at all. But I do know that breathing techniques are used very frequently on with people with high anxiety. And when they actually, because we're so used to shallow breathing, keeping the breathing up here in the chest, or we're on our phones and we're distracted and we're barely breathing and we're not getting enough oxygen to our brain, and that affects us. So knowing how to breathe deeply and knowing how to pause and meditate is very helpful, not only for mental health, but for how you function as a person, as an actor. So that's one technique. You do that 8 to 10 times, gaze all the way down, and exhale, gaze up. It's super nice. The second one is you inhale through one nostril, exhale through the other. And the way you do that is you put your middle finger to your forehead, your ring finger closes the right side of your nostril. Inhale through the other side. So you inhale and close both nostrils, hold it for 2 seconds, and lift up the other side, exhale through the other nostril. And then you inhale through this nostril, close, hold, exhale through the other. I've never demonstrated that before, so I hope that showed through. But the point is you're accessing the right and left brain as you inhale and exhale. And it's another way to calm yourself. This would be a great thing to do if you're on set and you're nervous, a great thing to do before you audition or before you self-tape. It's just a great way to center yourself and ground and quiet. I usually do that before bed, actually. It really helps me calm down. Sometimes I get anxiety before bed, when you lay there and you think of all the worst possibilities that could happen. Yeah, so I like
Never
to
done that.
Robert's like, yeah, I know what you mean. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, breathing through the nostrils is just a great way to calm your brain, calm your mind, and calm your body. And I do that. I probably do each nostril maybe 5 times each, so 10 total. And that's another. And you can do those exercises as many as you want, like as many times a day as you want, or once a day. It's really up to you. Um, yeah, there's one more that I can share that's
Okay.
popular. It'll be quick for me to explain. It's called 4-7-8. All you do is you can sit, stand, whatever you want. You inhale for a count of 4. So inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for a count of 7. So you hold your breath for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and exhale through your mouth for a count of 8. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you go back again. You do the same thing. Inhale 4, hold 7, exhale 8. And you do that 5 times in a row. There's a lot of great breathing exercises out there. So you find what works for you, and the benefits are amazing.
That was amazing. I've actually have not had like somebody demonstrate like exercises on the podcast,
Oh,
so
good.
yeah. Um,
That's
doing
awesome.
something new. Yeah.
Yeah. Love
This is
it.
the first.
I love that. Good.
Yeah, probably something that I may start doing more often. So thank you for, the
Yes.
inspiration.
It's really helped me. And so
Yeah.
yeah, I would love it if it helped you too. Yeah.
Yeah, de like doing it on social media, like that's a great idea. So
Yeah.
I say do it,
Do it. I know. Totally. You're inspiring me. I should. Yeah. I
Yeah,
really
make
should.
videos, just tutorials and stuff of like, breathing exercises. Yeah, that would be so helpful, seriously.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to write that down.
Yeah, new ideas.
Yes.
Yeah. But it is really cool that you've demonstrated, all of this exercise and yoga stuff and yeah, how it helps with a positive mindset. Like, you have no idea how much it makes a huge difference. Like 5, 10, 30, however long you do it, it really can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Whichever mood that you're currently in. Like, it really, really, really does. And yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
I know that it's definitely helped you. Um, like I think sometime after you've had the chemo, the cancer stuff. So,
Mhm.
like I commend you. Like that's just, I just admire your bravery for sharing that, first off. Because
Oh.
like whenever I do these, it's like I just usually talk about like, the generic boring stuff, like how did you do that? But no, like getting real with the audience and just sharing about like our own personal experiences with an illness and, you know, it's like something that's we kind of do need because it's like it's therapeutic in a way. I guess that's
Yeah.
also, therapy can count as therapy. It's like, talking about our own personal like, you know, um the challenges that we go through in life and just sharing it in such a thoughtful and constructive manner. It's like, yeah, that's courage. So
Mhm.
I really do appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Anytime.
it.
Yeah. So we're gonna stop part two because now we're gonna go into part three, which is gonna be the final part of this really fun conversation. So stick around until then, and yeah, as always, stay awesome, y'all. I'll see you in a bit.